Well, hello, our little lifers. I'm Mark.
And I'm Donna.
What are we talking about today? Marriage?
We're going to talk about marriage. We're professionals at this point. I mean, we have been married a long time, and I think that there are a lot. I don't think we have a young audience.
Probably
on the
not.
Channel. I think our analytics have shown us that we have an older audience, but that doesn't necessarily mean they've been married as long. We've been married 35 years.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how long or how little you've been married. I think it's the principles that we kind of learned some the hard way, right? So, and then maybe this video will come across some younger people that can.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that I see a lot is people, and it's mostly like online. This isn't in my real life. Is people that get mad at each other about nonsense.
I think that comes with, look, as we get older, we get cynical. I think in general, you kind of been there, done it. What are you doing, Sabrina? But
speaking of old, our dogs.
Oh my God.
They are literally like a couple of just little tiny dementia-ridden. I don't even know.
So
what are you saying, man?
What would you say? What would you contribute over the years we've been married? What have you learned?
Definitely to not sweat the small stuff. You know, because I was thinking about this earlier. We sort of have almost running jokes with each other about certain things that we do that I will see a lot of people get like really mad about. And one of the things that I think always just boggles my mind when I see anybody actually in an argument over this is like video games. Like Mark loves to play. What do you play?
Yeah, believe it or not, that's like a lot of you people that are older may be flabbergasted by this, but you'd be surprised how many people our age plays games. I'm not a gamer. There's a certain game I like called Halo.
Yeah. So he plays Halo. And how many women really, really get mad about that?
Yeah.
And it's just why?
Well, that's a good point to mention as far as if anybody's, watching this has issues in their marriage, to learn to maybe let go of some of these things is let each other have your own life.
Exactly. And especially if you have different things that you might be passionate about. And I'll say this, and Mark learned real early on.
It's going to be animals.
That I am an animal person. And
Okay, let me give a story. Here's when I knew I did not wear the animal pants in the family. So we'll call it the animal.
I don't even know which one this is going to be.
Well, you'll quickly, this was when I realized what I was facing. Her mother and stepfather lived in north side of Atlanta. So it was about 45 minutes away.
North of Atlanta.
And so this was how many years ago? Because you already know the story.
Gosh, we were doing our first renovation, so probably around 30 years ago.
Okay, so we had been married that long. We had just moved to this house, and the house was a mess.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's another story. It's another show. And so next door to her mother's house, there was a probably 6x6 outdoor kennel. And there was an English setter out there. And of course, Donna, with her Superman vision animal eyes, realized that the dog had its pelvic bone and spine showing through.
I'll say every time I would go visit my mom, I would see the dog out there. And it's as far back in the backyard as the man could put it. And I knew from my mom that he and his wife had gotten the dog as a puppy. And they divorced, and out of spite, he said, I'm not going to let her have the dog. And she wanted the dog. So he sentenced this dog to a life in this pen.
So anyway, he did. So she had been noticing. He had been noticing that, but this particular day, she noticed something and asked her mom, and he had been out of town.
Yeah.
And she went over there to see if it had any water in its bowl. And she was stunned at how emaciated the dog was. It was on the verge of death. Yeah. And so she came home. She's telling me about it, and she goes,
"There's a lot more to this.
Yeah, if he's not back by in the morning, I'm going to get the dog." I'm like, "Donna, you can't just go take somebody's dog." And she's like, "Somebody's got to stand up for the dog." So anyway, blah, blah, blah. The next day, she called her mom. "Is he back?" "No." And Donna's like, "I'm going to go get the dog." I'm like, "No, you're not. What are you going to do with it?" She goes,
"Well, it wasn't the next day." I will say, I didn't just like jump to a conclusion, because I went up there and was helping her cook for Thanksgiving. So I went up on Wednesday. I didn't go get him until Monday.
Regardless of, she went. Yeah. She was going to go get the dog. And I'm like trying to put my foot down, going, "No, what are we going to do with this dog? You don't even know if it's mean, whatever." And
I already knew it was
one of those situations to where she's getting in the car, and I'm like, "Donna, you are not going to get that. Donna, you are not." Off she went. And I'm like, well.
Yeah. And I actually did know the dog wasn't very friendly, because when I would go up there and get out of the car, he would bark ferociously, and you couldn't approach the fence. But that night, I was looking out my mom's window and I could see him, and I just thought, I said, does he ever take the dog out of the pen? And she said, "No, I've never seen him out of the pen one time." And he was 7 years old at that point. And so I went and drove up there, and when I opened the pen, I said, "Please be nice. Don't try to kill me." And I did have to take him to the vet right away. And so, to give you any reference, it's like a 50-pound dog. I think at a good weight, he was like 55 pounds, and he weighed 30 pounds.
Yeah. So anyway, she comes pulling back up a couple hours later, and honestly, it was horrible. The dog couldn't hardly.
He could barely stand.
Could barely stand. All of his teeth were gnawed down to the gum, the root showing.
Where he had probably been trying to gnaw.
So anyway, point of the story is, that's when I realized early on that I do not stand a chance against the animal.
No.
So she became.
So just let it be.
Let it be. Let her be animals. Yeah. And so little, he ended up being a incredible dog.
Really, yeah.
And you talk about loyal to us, and of course he had to be an outside dog. But we have a big property, and as you see by the channel, especially on the Coop Scoop, we now have a fence inside a fence. But at the time, it was just the entire property was just one big 6-foot fence, and so he lived.
He ended up being a really good dog.
He was
but
a dog.
I think the point of that whole story was that I have a passion for that, and he understood that early on, that I was an animal lover. And that's one of those things when you see people get married and you go,
they have to lose their identity.
Why would you marry somebody that has all these traits to begin with that you don't like, that you feel like you're going to fix or change? And you don't, everybody changes as they mature.
Oh my God, yes.
Like the things that we used to be into, we're not into anymore. We used to love when we met. We would go out partying and stuff, and you couldn't drag me into that situation now. But, you just end up changing together and maturing together. But if you go into a marriage thinking, well, I don't like this, that, and the other about him or her, and I'll change that as we go along. Like, I would have been miserable, I think, to never have animals.
Well, I think that's what happens to a lot of marriages, where you either grow together or you grow apart.
Yeah.
Because I love you more now than ever, and it's a different kind of love.
Right.
It's a deeper love. It's a commitment to sharing life together and being in it for the long haul, because things happen in life, and you get older, and we have to adjust to whatever happens. And I think the things, for those of you, I know there's a lot of people watching this, that you're involved in a what's the word, combined marriage, or you've had kids.
Blended family.
Blended family, thank you.
Yeah.
And so when Donna and I first met, Daniel was 8.
My son.
And so, of course, we had both discussed, I didn't want any kids of my own.
Right.
And I learned a lot, and it's an adjustment, being in a blended family. So any of you that are married that have experienced that or are experiencing that.
It can be hard.
It can be hard. And of course, we were in our mid-20s when we met. And so I was young, and I'm trying to build, always trying to build a company. I've always been an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I wish that I knew some things now that I didn't know then, to be more patient. But one of the mistakes I made was I was raised in a very disciplined family. Yeah. And of course, when we were first adjusting, And if Daniel was even maybe just being a kid, instead of me speaking up and trying to, be the role model and the stepdad, I would be waiting on Donna to correct him when in her mind, he may not have need corrected. He was just being a kid, but I'm sitting there thinking it needs to be corrected. So instead of just speaking up, I'm expecting her to do what I thought should be done without saying anything.
Yeah, that whole read your mind thing.
And I'm building up, and all of a sudden I'm popping off, and they're both like, "Where did that come from?" So it gets back to communication. So
well, and that's also one of those things like pick your fights, because honestly, I wasn't even thinking about this when we started to do this little conversation. Was children being in the mix, because I did have my son really young, and he's in his 40s now, so he's been out of the house for so long. I didn't think about that, but even with your kids, there's so many husbands and wives, I think, that want to parent differently, and you got to be on the same page, or at least allow each other, even if you're not quite on the same page, allow each other to have those differences and be okay with it, unless obviously it's harmful to your child. But like, I think we were, and I've said it before, like raised so differently.
Mm-hmm.
And when, and I'll give a perfect example to me that I always think about that was funny is Daniel, my son, learned well when he was, and I guess now, people might say he was ADHD or whatever. He was just a kid. Like, kids are full of energy. And he would come home, elementary school, and say, I have a spelling test tomorrow. Will you help me with it? And I would be going, spell banana. And he's running around the room, and he'd spelling it. And then he would stand on his head. And he stood on his head a lot. And so he would be standing on his head, and and Mark would say, you need to make him sit down, when you're doing that. And I'm like, why? And he would look, well, I don't know, I don't know. Just because we would have had to have sat down. I'm like, did that matter though? Because he's miserable because he's got all this energy. And so he started to learn a lot of things, like everything doesn't have to be so rigid. And
well, I think the biggest thing that I learned early on is I realized from the very beginning, even subconsciously, that Donna would always love Daniel more than anybody in this world. And he will always be her son, and she'll always have more love for him than me. And I think
what's the difference?
But you know what different. I mean? There's a commitment, there's a bond that can't be broken.
Right. Yeah.
People's children, they're always going to be there for their children, no matter what they do. Yeah. There's a limit to people that's not quote unquote. But anyway, and I think it was also, I made the point to be that mediator, because we never wanted to talk bad about her ex or Daniel's dad. Right. And I always tried to be friends with him and get along, even when trust me, there was times it would get on my nerves. You go to school events, and I'm like, here I am in this,
And I can't literally, I will give Mark props, because I would be like, I don't want to call him. I need to call Stan, my ex, about something. I'd be like, you call him. And he would call for me.
Is it close to 3:00?
No, not really.
Okay, because she's acting. Anyway, you know how dogs have an internal clock when it gets within an hour of eating time?
Yeah, she's staring at me because I'm the one that...
Time to eat. So anyway, we covered that, but I think what I would like to bring up...
I think you just have to, with children, you have to just give each other some grace.
You do.
And especially, I think moms tend to be more of the nurturers, and I think dads need to let go of the strict reins a little bit sometimes, and then moms need to also let dads be the disciplinarian sometimes. But you need to be able to talk about it with each other and not get mad. And I know I just interrupted you, but
That's
I was sort of...
I'm used to it.
But it's almost like there are so many things, back to sort of like the things that get on each other's nerves. I will see people fight and argue, like I was saying earlier, about the silliest things. And there's so many ways to escalate an issue or de-escalate an issue.
I think it gets back to where we fight well.
Yes.
So I think when I say fight well, we know each other's strengths and weaknesses. We know each other's peeves.
And you know what's going to push the other one's buttons. You know what's going to
push others' buttons. And sometimes it's also, once it's over, let it be over and learn how to just get on with it. And Donna taught me that a lot in our marriage to where she's always been good at compartmentalizing things or
I can
whatever.
remember one
God
time
almighty, Sabrina.
I said to him, for the old lady to me, I said to him, he said something, I don't even have any idea what we'd argued about, but he said, I apologized and you're still mad. And I said, I just need to be mad until I'm not mad anymore. And I was like, and it's because you always make me mad and I never make you mad. You don't know what this feels like.
But it's being, good about, because I've had the tendency to where I'll get all lost in my moods and emotions, and realizing I don't have to stay in this mood. Right.
Yeah.
And you were always good about being able to just get over something if you're over it and move on.
If he's worried about something or something like that, then I'm not going to get mad at you for being worried about something. But I can come in there and say, why don't you just think about it like this, or like however. And that's another way of de-escalating things, because, well, I can give an example, and I'm not going to say who this is, but you'll know who I'm talking about.
If that somebody watches this video, will they know that they?
Yes, and it's okay if they do. But we have someone, and they're not a couple; it's relatives in our lives, and one of them picks on the other one in a very not constructive way. And I know that she means well, but it's the way she comes across, and that's so destructive, to where now the other person involved just is like pulling away from her, and it's a shame. And you can do the same thing in a marriage. Like if Mark says something and it's something that's pushes my buttons in some way, and I honestly can't think of an example, but and I get mad about it, I'm not going to escalate things. Never in our marriage have we ever called each other names.
No.
Like I hate that.
No.
I would never say. But if he's being, and I'll just use this as an example,
a jerk,
like
a polite word.
I would never say you're such a jerk.
Yeah.
I would say don't act like a jerk.
Yeah.
And it's your tone a lot of times, and it's how you say it.
Yeah.
It can change the whole course of that disagreement.
Yeah. You know how weird it is that she's never sitting with Donna.
Mm-mm.
It's like,
this is a daddy's girl right here.
It's weird.
But I'm the one that feeds her.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's going to hang close to me.
So yeah, I think now what on the humorous side, like you always, there's the traditional jokes about men don't listen and women like to tell, like the doll, you're like going into details that to a man's not important, that type of thing. So what's some things?
Well, you were making it sound like
the man eyes and you did steal the dog.
Well,
the man eyes,
not immediately.
You stole it. If you go to someone's property and trespass, if you go trespass and take someone's dog without their knowledge, that's called stealing.
I had to make sure he was getting you can't jump down.
You are rationalizing a behavior there. But anyway, you always joke like the man eyes, man ears. What are some peevy things that I do that get on your nerves? That's no big deal, but
literally, yes. And this is one of those things. This is exactly one of those things I was talking about, where you can make it a big deal and it's not a big deal. Mark, this is a conversation we have minimally once a week. Minimally.
Okay.
What are we having for dinner? And I'll say, I was thinking I'd make like a roast and some mashed potatoes. And do you want like green beans or greens or something? Oh yeah, green. And he asked, and then he'll participate in the conversation and say, greens sound really good. Let's do that. And then it'll be 30 minutes and he'll go, what are we having for dinner? And then I give him the face.
And then I have to guess.
And then he goes, did I already ask you? And I'll go,
well, sometimes I think, did I ask you or did I think it?
And then he'll say, well, I don't remember what you said. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you. And then I just won't. And then he'll always remember. Like, then he'll go, did you say her?
And then one of the things, I think I just talk just to be talking sometimes. But I think like one of the things she does, gets on my nerves, is we cook together a lot of times. And when I'm preparing stuff, I have the trash can.
No, I don't drag
So if I like crack an egg. Well, we save the shells now, but let's say peeling something, and I put the peels in the trash can. Whatever it is, I'm putting in the trash can. She throws it in the sink.
I throw it in the sink, and then I put it all together
And yes,
in a bag.
the majority of the time she's cleaning the sink. But if I ever am trying to get some brownie points, some man points, and I go in there to clean the dishes, and I'm sitting there going, why am I taking these cucumber peels out of the? Because the chickens don't like to eat the cucumber.
Well, a lot of times though, I'll take that stuff and put it in the compost.
Yeah.
Though, but that's one of those things. It's just silly.
Yeah.
And I see people that actually get in arguments over that. And he said to me one day, I guess after looking at it several times, why do you always put it in the sink? And I go, because then I just bring a little bag over here and put it in there because I don't like dragging the trash can around. And I'll just put it in the trash.
What else do I do to get on your nerves?
Worry.
Yeah.
I mean, just worry.
I'm bad about
stuff.
that.
He
man.
is very bad about worrying.
That gets into, we can have another show about faith. I mean, that's an important, deeper topic, and I think it's important that really, honestly, that is the core of the success behind our marriage is our faith in Christ.
Yes.
So not to get off and like we're preaching or perfect, but I think that's a show we'll do to talk about our ups and downs, because we've had some pretty difficult things happen. My faith was imploded, and it's a deep story. It affected our life in a major way.
Yeah.
But she's good about not worrying and all that, and I'm the champ at it. But there again, that's the balance.
Yes.
Now, what's a lighthearted confession? What's something that you've done that you didn't tell me? And I'll give you a confession from today.
Oh my God. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
This will be the example of. Okay. So
I don't know.
We have a young man here that does our yard. So as you can see by the video and a lot of the Coop Scoop, leaves everywhere. So he's here, and we're getting the whole backyard cleaned up, raked, all that stuff. And so I always go and get him some lunch. And so we love Culver's burgers. And so I went to Culver's and I got us all a burger. And I come back, and Donna said, "Did you get any fries?" And I said, No, I just got the burgers, but I actually got one of the meals was I got some fries. And I ate the fries. I ate the fries on the way home, and then I didn't think she wanted fries. And when she said, "Did you get any fries?" I was like, "I just got the burgers."
Let me just say right here on the channel, we're getting a divorce. That's it. I can't handle this anymore.
So I did actually get fries today, and I ate them. So
gosh, I can't think of anything. I wish I'd have known you were going to ask that, because I could have thought of something, but I'll think of something later that I can't think of it. Listen, I just go out and hang out with chickens most of the time.
But I guess, and really though, as far as those of you that are married, maybe those of you
from now on
that have been through a divorce, or maybe you're going through a difficult, painful time. Maybe you long for, wishing you had a relationship, with someone. Like one of my sisters, unfortunately, her husband passed, and it's so sad. I mean, I couldn't imagine having to share life by myself. And
especially if you're had that many years.
When you've had a good relationship. So for any of you that have been through that, I'm sorry. That's gotta be horrible. But for those of you that are married, or maybe, hey, let's keep it real. There's going to be some people watching this that your marriage stinks, or maybe you're on the verge of going through a divorce, or maybe you're having an affair thinking about it. Then shame on you, right? But
I just thought of something.
What's that? What?
This is from a long time ago, though. I was looking at Sabrina, and it made me think of this. When oh my gosh, was it on? When did we get Cricket? It was for an anniversary.
That's a long time.
I want to say our 13th anniversary or something like that. I wanted a Chihuahua, and so he said that year, "What do you want for our anniversary?" And I said, "A Chihuahua." And I had never had one before, and I'd always wanted one. And he went, "No," because we already had 4 dogs. And he was like, "No, I don't want 5 dogs." And so I was like, "I don't want just any Chihuahua." And I was just getting into doing rescue then. And I said, there's a lady with this local rescue, and she took in this little dog. You got to see her. It's the cutest little thing. And I show him the picture, and he goes, "It's a 10-year-old Chihuahua. Why would you want this dog?" honey, I had already filled out an application on this dog. I was ready. I took off the afternoon of work and went and met her. This is the first time.
Well, it doesn't surprise me though.
And I'd already gone and met this dog,
me
and I had a bond with her, and I was already in love with her.
So you had already met her, like, and had a bond with her?
Yeah. I didn't really have a bond with her. I met her.
That doesn't surprise me.
She wasn't ready to be adopted yet, and they brought her to PetSmart.
So in other words, you'd already adopted her, basically.
The groundwork was laid. Yeah. And he said, no, that is not what you're getting for your anniversary. And I was like, that's all I want.
Empty words. I didn't have my I don't
She lived with me for the next 7 years.
Yes, she did. I'm gonna tell you that as far as letting each other do what they want, even when it drives you up the wall.
Yeah.
It was important to me, even though I wasn't always pleasant about things, and you'll get where I'm going. When she retired, that was one of the proudest moments of my life professionally, was being able for Donna to make that choice, because I wanted her to be able to do what she wanted to do. And she got into dog rescue. The problem with Donna is she likes everything that's broken that only she can fix. So we wound up with 10 dogs.
10 dogs.
We had 10 friggin' dogs, man.
See, that's why
it drove me up the wall. We had 10 dogs. But that was her. And then when Toby, your heart dog,
Toby,
the way I met Toby was when she brought him from the
Humane Society.
Humane Society. He was so freaky dog that she was going to put him down for me to meet him, and he does some freak out paralyzing thing and had to pull him through the gate on his back while he's snarling at me. And I'm like, this is going to be fun. And that dog never really let me.
No, he loved
me. He was I used the word jerk. I won't say the word I'm thinking.
Exactly. But anyway, know what you were thinking. Precious.
What I was saying earlier back to, those of you that are, maybe going through a difficult time, is there's always the ability to heal your marriage. There's always the ability to turn over the new leaf. And sometimes, and I think that the most important thing is, it's not Donna that needs to be fixed. It's me. Or it's not me that needs to be fixed. It's Donna. What I mean by that is, a lot of times the issues in relationships is you, because you're trying to control another person.
Yeah.
You're trying to change another person. And that depends on what that topic is. It's okay to want to help someone change that's maybe addicted, or they have some bad behaviors or whatever. But I mean, just wanting to control and dominate someone's life and not let their personality be. Like if I would have been this big jerk and took away her heart's desire of serving animals, she would have resented me.
Exactly.
And even if she wouldn't have said it, it would be that resentment.
It would be there.
It'd be there.
Because it's ever since I was a child.
And little stupid things. If you nag me because I wanted to play Halo every once in a while, if you nag me about that, because I'm going to just say, right, my mom and dad love them to death, but they are the Bickersons, man.
They are the Bickersons.
I mean, arguing all the time over the stupidest crap.
And there's just rules that his mom has always had.
Rules, these weird rules.
That, perfect example is she's tired, wants to go to bed, and Johnny says, I want to watch the news. She will be mad, but sit there and watch the news. Mm-hmm. And instead of going to bed, and I'm just like, I don't understand that sort. Just go to bed. Like, why are you making things difficult for yourself? And I heard somebody say a long time ago, marriage isn't 50-50, marriage is 100-100. And honestly, that's true.
It's true, but I think sometimes it depends on sometimes you're giving 150 and I'm giving 50 advice.
Well, that's
it just
kind
depends
of
on
why you have to be 100-100, because when Mark will agree. I think I'm a very strong emotional person.
Oh my God, yeah.
But there are certain things that might happen, or it's just a day where I just go, I'm having a day.
Well, I think that's a good point, though.
And it's like you have to step up and be that 80%. Well,
I think the biggest challenge, even after 35 years of marriage, there's a transparent topic here. Donna is such a strong person that sometimes something can be bothering her more than I realize, because she's good at not showing her feelings or emotions. So she's good at, and your sister's the same way. You know, so I think it's just a trait of the way y'all were raised or whatever, to where you don't let it show. If something's bothering you, you deal with it. And you know, sometimes I wish that wasn't the case, but I go the other side. I'm, you know,
such a crap.
but no. Anyway, we just want to come on here and talk. And
our lawn guys out there. So she's growling probably right into the microphone.
So anyway, if you guys, we appreciate everybody that is subscribed. If you haven't hit the notification bell, please do so. But hey, leave a comment. What kind of topics would you like us to talk about? Recipes. You know, I know eventually we'll get around to canning. We got a freeze dryer.
We have a lot of things canned, so it's not really canning time for me right now. So
and so we have freeze drying segment that we do, and then of course when the season gets back, I love to cook on the Blackstone griddle, so we have a lot of those things. Yeah. But anyway, we appreciate everybody being here. Anything you want to say before we camp out here?
No, that was like a marriage therapy session.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Just be kind to each other, I guess. Is the music. Love you, boo.
Me too. All right, guys.
Y'all have a good day.
Okay, check y'all next time.